Morning Ramblins. Ghosts in the Machine. So, in my constant war against fucking retards on the Reddits, I have found, and it has come to my attention, therefore, that when I write my stories or what have you, and I run into a roadblock where my brain is not working and functioning appropriately, and I utilize Gemini AI to basically kickstart the story in my brain in order to write the actual story, people lose their fucking minds and think that AI wrote it all instead of giving me an idea. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run through this real quick. And before any of you lose your minds and say, well, nobody wants to read AI slop, I'm going to point some out at you. The AI is simply giving me an idea. That's the same as somebody using music or somebody using movies or their ADD medication to silence their brain so that they can think, or playing video games and then being inspired by the characters in the video games. It's the same thing. It's just simple inspirations. And I want to run you through some of this so I can show you exactly what I mean by this. Specifically, I have a story I've been writing recently, well, rewriting, because again, this is an idea I had years ago. Never went anywhere with it because I was doing other things with my life at the time. And I just put it on a back burner, and I started writing it recently, remembering it for what it was and writing it. And this is the Everspark series. Okay. The story I was telling Ms. Mutt about, and funny enough, none of this was written by AI, but it was a lot of it was pushed forwards, we'll say. Kind of like, you listen to a song and it's like, that inspires me to write this next part of the book, and I do that all the time. I use music all the time to just inspire my brain to become creative, to think on a storyline. So it's literally not, there's no difference. And I'm going to point this out by reading to you one of the chapters from the book, The Dragon Wars, which is the next book in the series. And this is the chapter I haven't released yet, in fact, just because I want to see if you can tell which parts of it was written by me and which parts of it was written by AI, so we can tell the difference here. I want to see any of you figure out what part is what part. Because if you can, I will never use AI to actually write the parts, just to give me ideas. Plain and simple. But I want to see if you can tell the difference. Because I can't tell the difference. That's how good it is. So, this is the Skymark Chronicles, Chapter 4. The Dragon Wars, Chapter 4. The jagged, blackened teeth of the watchtower of light bit into the bruised southern sky. Once a soaring column of pristine marble that anchored the light frequencies of Grable Neves, In the center, the tower was now scorched, hollowed out, and a carcass of ash and shattered glass. And in the center of the ruined courtyard, the earth shook. Hilari threw her massive skeletal white bulk against the stone, a deafening shriek from her throat. Or a deafening shriek tearing from her throat. Her scales, which should have gleamed with the pure pearlescent luster of the white frequency, were dull, stained with the grassy soot of the south, and mapped with angry, pulsing veins of a sickly garnet hue. She wanted blood. She wanted to unhinge... pardon me, my speech impediment. She wanted to unhinge her massive jaws and incinerate the half-elf standing on the obsidian dais before her. She lunged, her talons gouging deep trenches into the stone, her maw open to release a torrent of acid-laden fire. But 3 feet from Karn's boots, her muscles locked. A violent, invisible barrier slammed into her nervous system, sending a shocking spike of kinetic feedback rippling through her spine. Hilari reared back, her massive ears pinning to her skull, her tail smashing through a ruined marble banister as she let out a choked, frustrated hiss. She didn't understand. She was a weapon of raw, bloodthirsty violence. She had spent centuries learning how to hunt, and only how to hunt and kill. Yet every cell in her immense body screamed that the half-elf before her was untouchable. The ancient fundamental laws of the world, the very circuit of the universe, recognized that the white mists of Alastaria, still clinging to Karn's shoulders, held weight. The system recognized him as bloodkin. She physically could not bring him to harm. White Kestrel roared in sheer, unadulterated confusion, her massive head whipping side to side as she snapped blindly at the empty air, trying to fight a law she couldn't see. From the dais, Karn watched her with a cold, predatory amusement. He didn't use a picklock spell. He didn't draw a blade. He simply waited. He knew the biology of the beast. He knew that for a dragon, the only thing more agonizing than the eternal silence was a mind turned against its own instincts. As Hilari's frantic confusion reached a fever pitch, her internal defenses began to fray, the sheer stress of the paradox fracturing her psychic walls. There it is, Karn thought, his eyes flashing with a hollow, dark-rimmed greed. Before the dragon could recover her bearings, Karn lunged forward with his mind. He didn't seek harmonious synchronization like the mainlanders did. He shoved the full weight of his half-elven malice and the parasitic hunger of Hellsbane straight into the crack in her fractured psyche. He flooded her system with his own dark frequency, wrapping his willpower around her locked muscles like iron cables. Hilari's eyes, normally a wild, clouded white, violently snapped to a deep, toxic crimson as the loop closed. The confusion vanished, replaced instantly by the cold, heavy shadow of her new master's absolute control, and a small piece of the dragon she once was, fought to hold on. Karn took a slow step down from the dais, his boots crunching in the ash. He reached out a pale hand, pressing his palm directly against the twitching snout of the massive conquered wight. "Now, my beautiful curse," Karn whispered, his voice vibrating with the stolen authority of the ancients. "The sky is ours." Hilari snorted, slavered, and twitched. But Karn held her everything in his mind. Nothing could break the power he now held over her, save death. And as agonizingly lonely as that might be, Hilari wanted nothing more so much as for Karn to burst into ash where he stood. Yet her body obeyed his commands. Her mind was beginning to seem different, almost tame. As wrong as it proved to feel, Hilari began to like it. So tell me which part of that was me and which part of that was Gemini. Go on. Down in the comments section below. Go ahead and tell me which part of that was... You can go back with the video and sit there and every part of my words and check it out. Tell me which part of that was AI and which part of that was me. I want to see if you can do it. Because I'm going to run you through this. I just want to actually see if you can do it. So stop, pause here. Put your comment down below which parts, dissect it, give your, use numbers, use letters. I don't care. Go ahead, have fun. Now that you've done that, you've paused the video, you've put your comment down below, I'm going to let you in on a secret. I'm still rewriting it. And funny enough, I'll show you the parts here where Gemini wrote. So, first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, fourth paragraph. However, fifth paragraph, I had to go in and put a violent, invisible barrier slammed into her nervous system, sending a shocking spike of kinetic feedback rippling through her spine. And I had to take out a portion here where AI got it wrong and said that Dathor had taught her to be a weapon of how to hunt and kill. I rewrote this portion. Again, so that we're clear as to why it's so difficult to understand which parts AI wrote and which parts I wrote. Let's go back real quick, and I'm going to Control O. Go. I'm going to open up one of these that I wrote every last word. And again, you tell me how this differs very much to the point where it's hard to read or hard to see or hard to understand. It is a particular personal bias in your brain that stops you from liking what it's being read because somebody said that they used AI to get past a block. So here, chapter 1. Same book, same story, but chapter 1 I wrote myself entirely. The dragon roared and writhed against the stone cavern encompassing her bulk, pure hatred coursing through her for the wicker warlord that held her captive by his dark magic. For all her might, Alistaria could no more move the pillars of magically reinforced white marble than disappear, and the fire she threw at him burst upon his spells. For all her prowess as one of the two living ancients, she was now powerless against a mere half-elf. Karn looked on with mild amusement before he spoke. Alistair, I'll say it once more. You can be free, and no harm will come to you. But you know the price. Need I say it again? You are bold to think yourself worthy. The bloodkin oath is forever binding, but only for those who earn it. A tainted pairing will only bring death. Alastria spat, flame shooting angrily from her nostrils. I have blood to spare. Speak the words, dragon. Karn spat with annoyance. Or we can do it again tomorrow. By the ancient magic you are bound. So be it. Alasteria, they get the names mixed up, breathed heavily over Karn, and a shower of pure white mist descended on his shoulders. Bloodkin, she added venomously. Very well, I release you. Karn spread his fingers as he held forth his right hand, and the marble pillars crumbled. Alasteria walked away from her prison. Alasteria slowly walked away from her prison, hating the elfin man, but unable to dispatch him now. Your task is done, great dragon. Go, before I change my mind. Karn spat. A great rushing of wind answered him, and Alasteria was gone. Fairbairn chuckled as the mists whipped around them in fluffy clouds, ruffled fairly by the beat of the dragon's massive wings. Bane crouched lower in the strapping of the harness on Fairbairn's back and gritted his teeth against the chill of the rain clouds. Roar, you cheeky gannet! I'm too weak to use a roasting spell. Stop flying through... What was that? Bane shouted around the buckles of the harness. A cold, having nothing to do with the clouds, bit at his guts. Yes, I feel it as well. Yes, we land. There should be a clearing up here in the great bamboo forest. It's a small rural eastern town called Potts. Haven't been there since I was a loach. Fairbairn called back to Bane as they spiraled towards the ground in long, looping circles. Alighting carefully on the outskirts of the large clearing, where the overgrowth wasn't as heavy, they began making their way towards the apparently derelict town. I don't understand. What happened here? Why is it abandoned? Bane said as he slid down Fairbairn's wing to the ground. The dragon remained silent, his large ears flicking back and forth in the dense mists and shadows of the bamboo and vines. After a few moments listening and flickering tongue, Fairbairn turned to cast an eye at Bane. A hex lay upon these grounds, the dragon mumbled, ponderously so, almost inaudibly. I taste a molder upon the air, little heart. But Mabel's, Bane began in a tense whisper. Not Mabel. The wrath of Karn, Fairbairn muttered, flicking a burnt stone with a foreclaw the size of a horse. Before he took Bjorn's halt, he marched on his own people. Something you've forgotten. Something we're going to use, little heart. Lothar looked down at the slightly shorter dwarf who barred his way. Something in the impish grin told him he was in for a fuss. Lothar, Dickie, you were banished, elf trash. You're not welcome in cavern. The dwarf to his left chimed in. The dwarf in front of him grinned wider. Aye, but you're going to move just the same. By my metal, you're going to move, Lothar growled. Or what, elf lover? What's a mud heart like you gonna do, eh? The grinning dwarf sneered. Lothar chuckled and withdrew the rotting cargo he carried. Add you to my growing collection of traitors, Bigly. Heimgrib served Mabel. Do you serve Mabel or Thaben? Lothar growled as he shoved the stinking cranium before Bigly's nose. You gotta understand, I'm reading from a computer. Hold on. Moving forwards. I mean, you can get all of this on r/Everspark. I'm just pointing out all of this was written by me. All of the first chapter is my writing. And I pointed out to you the portion of the fourth chapter, which was written exclusively by AI with a couple of minor tweaks. And yet they're so fucking close. You can't tell the difference. I'll bet you can't tell the difference. I'll bet you all got those particulars wrong when you wrote them down in the comment. And the reason why I put it this way is because I'm not utilizing Gemini so much to write. In fact, I haven't used Gemini to write at all for the most part. Just chapter 4, like I said, I used what Gemini wrote down because it was good. And it was very close to what I was trying to get out, and it made good sense, and it was along with the storyline, and I worked with it. Again, worked with it. Didn't just sit there and throw it on there, slop it on there, and be like, okay, that's good. No. I went back, I read through it, and I'm like, no, this doesn't work. That I got to take that out. I got to do this, put that back in. That there, clean this up, write this portion to move it through this transition. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to work onto this portion, and it continues. It's not, the whole damn thing is written by AI. And people need to get that out of their heads. There's a lot of fucking real AI slop out there that is just completely AI generated. There's a difference between AI generated and written with the aid of AI. And I need to point this out to people because apparently they keep on getting this lost in their minds of, oh, well, he used AI, so it's all garbage. Do you understand how fucking infinitesimal and infantile you sound? Do you get that these books, I'm writing most of it from memory because of the fact that my creative side of my brain was smashed. Like, I have fucking brain trauma to the point where most other people would be dead. Shitting themselves in a fucking coffin dead. And I'm able to remember most of this stuff in order to be able to write it, and then some of it I need help with. What am I going to do? Just pull a rabbit out of my ass that ain't there? Do tell. How do you get past writer's block without some help? How do you get past writer's block without some form of inspiration? Do you just sit there and twiddle your thumbs until something fucking comes out? I'd love to know if that's the case, because if that's the case, then you are a walking miracle. Every writer in history, every single author has had inspiration that has driven their story. What inspired Tolkien? The trenches of World War II. It's a fucking fully accepted and understood situation. Luthien was based off of his wife. If he didn't have that inspiration, would we have The Lord of the Rings? So my question is, without the inspiration of other writers, for that instance, without the inspirations of AI slop to make you want to go and write something better, would you be writing? Would you have the inspiration necessary? This is something I personally would like to know. Because if that is the case, then like I said, you are a walking miracle. You are beyond all of us human beings. You are a god. Congratulations. You are greater and holier than anything on this planet. You don't belong with us. Because the rest of us human beings, the rest of us plebs, need inspiration. As a for instance, my sister wouldn't have painted that if she wasn't inspired by the movie. Food for thought. None of these books would be would have been written by me if I wasn't inspired by somebody else's stories. AI is simply writing a tiny little piece that inspires me to write the rest of it. How is that different from the Breaking Benjamin song, Unknown Soldier, inspiring me to write most of the Sky Knight series? I'd love to know. How is that any fucking different? Because if you look at the way that the book is written and reads, and if you sit there and you listen to the song while you're reading the book, you'll see it in there. You'll actually see the mention of the song in the book. I mean, come on, man. It's fucking right there. So when you talk about, oh, nobody likes AI slop, that's because people are doing the lazy thing and using AI to generate the entirety of the writing. They're not using AI as an inspirational tool. Okay? And as a for instance, I'm going to bring up Gemini here and let Gemini speak for itself. And we're going to see what Gem has to say, because Gem has done a lot of work, but hasn't written very much. And I've had to do a lot of work to keep Gem on point. This isn't something that's just, oh, well, it's so easy to do. AI slop. Yeah, fuck you guys with that bullshit. Let's take a look and see how I use Gemini. Okay? I want to see if you can tell the difference between AI slop and AI used appropriately. to write, because this is a whole fucking world of difference. All right. So I'm having to explain here. Oh, wait, this isn't the... All right. Come on. World building. Up further, chapter 21. This is in the last book in the series where I was sitting there just, again, using it as inspiration. Now, here's AI's response to chapter 21 and what I had so far, and I'm sitting there conversing with AI to figure out what I need to write next. Again, what I need to write next. Okay? Now, and all of this is, by the way, inspired by a video done by, of all people, Tailbot from the Tail Foundry. Shout out to Tail Foundry. See, it says it here. I broke it down for Tailbot, and I think you can use it as well, Jim, for the brainstorming sessions on Everspark, the Elder Fantasy we're working on. Now, fantastic roadmap for the Everspark universe. Frame the tax of magic, treating it as a literal law of thermodynamics rather than just a narrative inconvenience. Gives the world a grounded, gritty realism that many Elder Fantasy settings lack. The concept that magic and industrial engineering are essentially different currencies used to pay the same physical toll is a brilliant hook. It makes the tension between magical and non-magical communities feel like an economic and evolutionary rivalry, not just a clash of aesthetics. Now, this is the kind of feedback that I need in order to be able to move forwards and brainstorm. I can't get this kind of conversation from people because you're all so fucking far crammed with your heads up your asses you can't see the light of day from the shit dripping down your noses. So I have to use AI to talk to. In so much, I have to tell AI what's going on, and then I'll point this out to you. As I already showed in the comment, we've written quite a lot already. Everspark series is on Reddit, and we're at chapter 21, I believe. Our other chat was experiencing some heavy hallucinations on your part and making it so that I was hitting a wall in the final product because we were reiterating things so much. I'm having to sit there and point out to AI, this is how this story goes. You see that shit? This is absolute fucking proof in the pudding that points out, hey, I'm the one writing this fucking story. I'm just using AI as a little fucking crutch, a little bit of help. And for that, I'm getting shit on because of all you other motherfuckers out there that don't do any work whatsoever. You just, well, I want you to write this story about this, plug it in, peel off everything that's been written by the LLM, and then turn around and plug it in. You don't even fucking stop to think about, wait a minute. Does this reflect my writing style? Does this follow with canon? What if this is mine? What if this is the computer, computer generated stuff? None of it. You don't proofread, you don't nothing. And I see that a lot. And I'm going to point out to you one of the biggest hurdles for people because they don't seem to understand that LLMs cannot fucking write stories like we can. I want to show you this real quick. Hang on, I'm scrolling. Because I got a lot of work done before this happened. But it points out exactly what the biggest issue is with utilizing LLMs to run your story through. When you're working on these things and you go and you put this stuff in there, sometimes you get absolute and utter fucking garbage. And this will never fucking show up in the actual books because of the hallucination that Gemini had. And it's all that type of work I'm talking about. All right. Just got to freaking scroll down to find it because it happened way late in this particular chat line. I was working on, I think it was names, right? No, it was after the names. Because again, I don't have anybody to talk to. I'm sitting here talking to myself, to a camera and a computer. Because I don't have anybody to talk to. I'm all by my own little lonesome here. What am I going to do? Ask my dog about what the story is? He doesn't care. So I'm going to point something out to you. This right here is why you cannot trust LLMs to write your story for you. The thought reflection on the particular, when it had its hallucination, I'm going to read to you this thought bubble. Number 3, the tragedy of the love triangle. Thurine's desperation. I haven't the choice to turn back now. Isn't just about military duty to King Varial or Fairbane. Deep down he is fighting for the future of Verdalia and for Rika. He knows that if he returns empty-handed, the mainland falls to Karn and Rika's world ends. He is willing to provoke a primordial dragon just to prove his worth to the master. You see my point? And it goes on. And it goes on. Okay? This is why I'm saying, no, I'm not fucking using AI to write the story. I'm using it to rewrite my brain so that I can write the story. Maybe you haven't noticed it, but the way that my jaw is working should tell you exactly what the fuck is going on here. This half of my skull is missing. I am missing a large portion of my brain. And yet, once again, I wrote this by myself. And to prove to you that I wrote that myself, let's go back to Gemini. And go up to the beginning of the Dragon Wars. Nope, not that. Western Island chain. More implied than spoken. Chapter 2 continued, where I didn't even use that portion. Yin, and still chapter 2. This might be chapter almost 1. That's chapter 2 so far. Damn it. I lost it. There we go. All right. Chronicles of Dragon Wars, chapter 1. So now you can see that I'm not bullshitting. I'm using AI to bounce the idea off of. It is a tennis court. It's not a fucking goddamn fast pitch machine. You guys need to get this through your skulls. I'm writing the story. AI is helping me to write the story. Not writing the story. Again, look at my face. This asymmetrical fucking bullshit. How much of my head is missing? All of this is all AI here. This is the portion that AI is doing. Simply noting down what was in the fucking portion there to build on what is called the Writer's Bible. Something that you can reference in order to, again, use in order to write. It's something to go back to and say, okay, this part of the story referenced this portion that will be in the future, and I want to make sure that this actually matches up correctly. Not, please write this story for me. That shit does not fucking fly in my book. I'm sorry, but I'm a little bit proud. I like writing. So when it comes down to it, what portion of the story did I write when it's chapter 4 here? So I think we should start chapter 4 with Karn and the Cursed White to let us see what a dragon is actually capable of when they're paired out of greed rather than love. What is this? Is this me telling AI to write the story, or is this me saying, I think we should start the chapter 4 in a specific way? AI then volunteers. After I put in from what AI sit there and questioned, okay, how does the scene open? Do we find Karn standing on a wind-whipped obsidian terrace deep within a ruined courtyard, holding a newly won authority of Alastra's white mist over his shoulders as the massive thrashing and heavily chained form of Hilari is brought before him? Imagine the terrifying moment the chains are uncoupled. I didn't put any of that in there. Nor, funny enough, did AI. Instead, I wrote this portion. The setting, Grable Naves, the Watchtower of Light, now in its ruined state. Hilari is angry, but unable to use her violence against Karn. She doesn't understand why either. The confusion only makes her more angry, and it's this that lets Karn gain control of her mind. Who wrote the fucking shit? Who created it, geniuses? Again. So I put that in there, and then AI voluntold me this. Here's the opening for Chapter 4, Part 1. And wrote all of this. Which I thought, well, that's actually pretty fucking good. I'm going to put that portion in there because I like that. So, here's all of that. Okay, now again, what's changed? She didn't understand. She was a weapon of raw, bloodthirsty violence. She had spent centuries bound to the desperate, starving vacuum of Dather's fractured soul, learning only how to hunt and kill. Yet every cell in her immense body screamed that the half-elf before her was untouchable. Oh my lord, did I take something out? Did I do some proofreading to make it so that it would actually follow with canon? How horrible of me to utilize something that's actually written pretty freaking well and then change it minutely in order to make it so that it follows perfectly. Strange. And that's not that particular chapter hasn't even been released yet. Let that blow your mind. The other chapters, where it was me writing it, those have been released. But this one hasn't. This one isn't finished yet. This is just me getting past a fucking mindfuckery and a mental block, and then realizing, hey, that's actually a good portion of writing. I'm going to use that. But I'm going to change it so that it works. And it's a good story that actually follows along with how we as human beings think versus the way that the AI thinks. Jesus. You guys, you make me have, I'm going to end up having a fucking infarction, man. And I even told Gemini about the whole thing. Here's the beginning with the header and transition, along with slight modification. Dather had been dead and locked in his shattered heart of stone for over a century by the time Hilari was hatched. That's in that. Whoa. What the hell? Yeah, it says no preview available. I don't want that. The attachment here made it so that Gemini couldn't access the damn attachment and made another mistake. This is the same problem that I had with the last chat over here. Brainstorming older fantasy series concepts. Same shit, 2 different chats because of that particular problem. Okay, this one problem, after a hallucination, it scrambles the AI's mind. So the AI can't actually continue to work appropriately. A new chat has to be opened in order to work appropriately. And to do that now, I'm going to have to forego almost everything that I've already done. I'm going to have to give the AI the entirety of the previous 2 books in order to build a new Bible with. So before you sit there and you say, oh, well, you're atrophying your creativity and your creative ability by going and using AI. No, I'm actually not. it's half of my creativity and my creative ability because half of my brain is gone. Half of my jawbone is floating. And is made up of titanium. This is helping me to do small fix-its. Things that the creative center of your brain, which is located mostly in the left hemisphere of your brain, the small bits of creativity to help a story flourish, I've lost. And in order to have those little tiny bits that help me over that hump come from a computer, yeah, I'm a cyborg, so fucking what? It's just a little tiny bit of help. It really is. By comparison to what most people use AI for, it's a little tiny bit of help. But because of the stigma, and this is why I hate people who fucking sit there and they say, oh, well, you know, you need to get mental health screening and checked and all this shit. No, because your fucking stigma is going to fucking ruin my life. So, and I know this from experience, by the way. And it's the same case for anybody who goes into that mental health fucking shit. It ruins their life because of the stigma. And it's the same thing with using AI for anything. There's a stigma about it. And so people will turn around and look at you as if you're the evil one, rather than realizing, hey, you know what? Human beings have fucking limitations. And the man who realizes he has limitations and realizes those limitations goes much further than the fucking piece of shit that simply stands on their inability to utilize their mind openly. Now, I've read my fair share of AI slop. I have listened to my fair share of AI slop audiobooks. They're on YouTube. But I've also had some really good stories that I've listened to on YouTube and read on Reddit, written with the aid of AI, but written by a human. It's amazing how that works, isn't it? So, this is my rant for today. My morning ramblings of unpucker your ass, and mayhaps you might be able to turn around and learn a few somethings. All heard? Because inspiration comes from everywhere. It doesn't just come from fucking thin air and all of a sudden, boom, there's a book sitting there. Jesus fucking wept. You realize that J.K. Rowling started her books as a fucking jot on a napkin. And because of a conversation over that napkin, it became a full story. Just so happens she had one of the best AIs in the world to ever fucking utilize, a human brain. Someone else to bounce an idea off of. I don't have that. And I have half of my own brain. So I'm using an AI to bounce my ideas off of. Not to write a damn story, to bounce my ideas off of so that I can come back and say, okay, is this a good idea or is that not a good idea? Does this deviate from the Bible? Does this work right? Does this work left? Does this work up? Does this work down? basically spurring myself forwards, pushing myself towards that next step, which can only be done with a little tiny bit of, here you go. You guys don't realize it, but every time I finish a fucking sword in the forge, I'm sitting there patting myself on the back like I've fucking just created sliced bread. I mean, you don't understand how big of a feat this shit is. You really don't. The fact that I can walk is entirely due to a computer chip running half of my body. You fucks have no idea how much fucking I rely on technology. I have no choice. I'd be dead without it. The hell am I supposed to do? Sit there and be like, oh, well, I'm too big for that. Excuse the fuck out of me. If we're too big for technology, then get your ass off the internet. Go out and touch grass, you pansy. Put down the books because you don't deserve technology. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I hurt your fifis because you like your cell phone, which uses AI in order to operate, but you don't like AI because you watch too many Terminator movies? Makes you wonder, don't it?